The vast, uncharted darkness of space stretched endlessly as the Kaltoran battle fleet approached the edge of the human star system. The black void around them seemed to whisper of the unknown, but to Commander Zarek and his crew, it was just another corner of the galaxy to conquer, a place to expand their dominion, to wipe out another primitive race. The Kaltorans had done this countless times before, and no other species had ever stood in their way for long. As their flagship, the Tempest, sliced through the empty space, Zarek's mind was already calculating the victory. Another day, another weak species to wipe out, Zarek thought, a smirk playing on his lips. His hands gripped the controls confidently, and his sharp eyes scanned the screen in front of him, showing the coordinates of Earth. The planet was nothing more than a speck of blue in the distance, a barely noticeable dot compared to the Kaltoran Empire's mighty star systems. To Zarek, this was nothing more than an opportunity to show the Kaltoran strength once more. But as the fleet closed in on Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. A warning flashed across the fleet's communication system, a message intercepted from an ancient, distant alien signal. Zarek scoffed at first. He had heard rumors of strange alien warnings, but none ever amounted to anything. The message was encrypted, its words unfamiliar and eerie. When it finally decrypted, it sent a chill through the entire fleet. The message was simple, direct, and haunting. Never ever fight a human. The words echoed in the control room, causing a momentary silence. The officers around Zarek exchanged uneasy glances. But Zarek, ever the confident leader, dismissed it as nonsense. The humans, after all, were a young species, primitive, weak, and no match for the advanced technologies of the Kaltorans. He had conquered worlds far more dangerous than this before. There was no reason to fear some old alien legend. Ignore it, Zarek ordered, his voice cold and dismissive. We've come for conquest, not superstition. Proceed with the invasion. But as the fleet neared the human planet, something seemed different. The atmosphere around Earth felt strange, almost like it was waiting. Despite Zarek's orders, the unease in his crew began to grow. They weren't used to this feeling, fear of the unknown. Still, the fleet pressed on, determined to carry out their mission. The Kaltoran fleet made their descent toward Earth's surface. The humans had no idea what was coming, or so they thought. The truth was, Earth had been preparing for something like this for years. Underneath their seemingly primitive exterior, humanity had been working tirelessly, developing technology that far exceeded what the Kaltorans had ever imagined. While the invaders had focused on advancing their weapons, their AI, and their military, humans had been focused on something more vital: survival. As the first Kaltoran warships approached a small human colony on the outskirts of Earth, their cloaking devices went live, and the invasion began. Zarek's battle fleet unleashed waves of devastating firepower. The sky above the colony lit up with plasma blasts and laser fire as the Kaltorans made their move. They had expected the humans to fall quickly, just like all the other species they had conquered before. But they were wrong. In a flash, the skies above Earth erupted with unexpected resistance. From the ground, high-tech cloaking devices activated on Earth's defense systems. The Kaltoran fleet's sensors flickered and failed as a series of stealth aerodromes swarmed through the atmosphere. These drones, developed by the brightest human minds, were small, fast, and equipped with high-powered electromagnetic pulses, EMPs. The Kaltorans had no idea how to counter them. Within moments, the Kaltoran fleet's advanced systems began to falter. Their shields flickered and sputtered. Their weapon systems failed. Fighter jets launched from human bases on Earth's surface, performing intricate maneuvers with surprising speed and precision. They carried EMP weapons that disabled the Kaltorans' targeting systems, rendering their attacks useless. Zarek's confidence started to slip as he watched his fleet, once mighty and invincible, falter under the humans' unexpected assault. "What is happening?" Zarek growled, gripping the command chair. His officers scrambled to regain control, But nothing seemed to work. The humans, despite their primitive technology compared to the Kaltorans, had a secret weapon: resourcefulness. And that resourcefulness was enough to turn the tide against the most advanced war fleet in the galaxy. "This cannot be happening," one of Zarek's officers muttered in disbelief. The screens were filled with images of Kaltoran warships being disabled midair, their once formidable weapon systems disabled by the humans' EMP attacks. As the first few moments of combat passed, the damage to the Kaltoran fleet was already severe. Zarek's confidence had turned into panic. His flagship, the Tempest, had been hit by a massive EMP pulse, knocking out all communications. The once certain invasion had turned into a desperate retreat. The humans were not the weak, unprepared species they had been led to believe. "Fall back," Zarek bellowed, his voice now filled with urgency. "We need to retreat. Now." But it was too late. The damage had already been done. In less than 10 minutes, the Kaltoran fleet had suffered immense casualties, their ships disintegrating or floating helplessly in space, disabled by the humans' relentless counterattack. As the invaders retreated, the humans, though exhausted, watched from their command centers, knowing they had won the first battle. But it wasn't just about winning. It was about sending a message to the galaxy. The message was clear: humanity was not to be underestimated. Zarek, now visibly shaken, watched his fleet struggle to retreat back into the darkness of space. His plans had been ruined, his arrogance shattered, and the humbling truth was beginning to settle in. They had underestimated humanity. The Kaltorans had learned the hard way that the message in the ancient alien signal was no myth, it was a warning. And now the Kaltorans had to face the fury of a species that would never surrender, a species that had learned the hard lessons of survival, a species that would fight for their very existence, no matter the odds. The Kaltoran commander, still reeling from the devastating loss, made a grim vow to himself. "This is not over," he muttered under his breath. But deep inside, Zarek couldn't help but feel that the humans had already won the war. Not through technology, not through brute force, but through something far more terrifying to the Kaltorans: resilience. This battle had been only the beginning, and as the Kaltoran fleet limped away, damaged and broken, one thing was clear: the humans were not to be taken lightly. They had proven, once again, that when faced with extinction, humanity would rise up and fight, not just for survival, but for victory. The Kaltoran fleet had barely escaped Earth's atmosphere, limping back into the cold void of space. The retreat was humiliating, an unprecedented defeat for the Kaltoran Empire. Commander Zarek, the proud leader of the invasion, clenched his fists in fury as he gazed at the remnants of his fleet on the command screen. His ships were badly damaged, many of them completely disabled by the humans' unexpected attack. He had expected a quick conquest, but now his fleet was broken, scattered, and in desperate need of a regroup. "Prepare for a full retreat to Kaltora," Zarek barked, his voice cold and filled with frustration. "Get us out of here. I want everything we have back at full capacity in 24 hours. But as the fleet limped away, deep within the heart of the human command centers on Earth, another plan was unfolding. Humanity had just witnessed the power of resilience, and now it was time to strike back. They had tasted the bitter sweetness of victory, but the war was far from over. General Bonner, a seasoned human commander, stood in a darkened room, his eyes fixed on a large holographic map of the Kaltoran fleet. The room was filled with tension. His team, made up of the best minds and fighters humanity had to offer, stood around him. They had just witnessed the first victory against the Kaltorans, but Bonner knew that it was only the beginning. The Kaltorans would regroup, rearm, and return, and humanity's survival would depend on their ability to adapt faster than the Kaltorans. "We've bought ourselves some time," Bonner muttered, his voice low but steady. "But that doesn't mean they'll back off. We need to hit them again, and hit them hard." His team nodded in agreement. Bonner had seen it all. He had fought in countless battles, but this war was different. It was a battle for the survival of humanity. The Kaltorans weren't just any alien race. They were technologically advanced, ruthless, and arrogant. They had underestimated humanity once, but Bonner was certain they wouldn't make that mistake again. However, it wasn't just human technology that would win the war. It was human ingenuity. "All right," Bonner said, gathering his team's attention. "We've learned a lot from our first encounter. The Kaltorans are vulnerable. They may have superior weapons, but they lack the flexibility and adaptability that we have. We'll use that to our advantage." Bonner's plan was a daring one. He and his team would lead a counterattack, one that would strike at the heart of the Kaltoran fleet and shake their confidence to its core. Humanity had developed cutting-edge technology, and it was time to use it. They had energy shields capable of withstanding blasts from the Kaltorans' weapons, A-controlled warships with unprecedented speed and maneuverability, and cloaking devices that could allow their forces to move undetected. With Bonner leading the charge, the human forces launched their attack. The Kaltorans, still recovering from their previous defeat, were ill-prepared for the speed and precision of the human counterstrike. As the human warships, cloaked in near invisibility, moved toward the Kaltoran flagship, Bonner's squad prepared for the battle ahead. The human warships emerged from their cloaks with terrifying speed, their engines roaring as they streaked across the dark sky. The Kaltorans had no time to react before the first wave of missiles launched from human ships. The blasts shook the Kaltoran flagship, sending shockwaves through their ranks. Explosions erupted across the Kaltoran fleet. The very fabric of their dominance was unraveling as human warships fired in perfect synchrony, targeting the weak spots of each ship. Their advanced eye-controlled fighters weaved through the chaos, striking with pinpoint accuracy. The Kaltorans were in disarray, their once mighty forces now stumbling under the pressure of humanity's relentless assault. From the ground below, human forces watched the scene unfold, their eyes filled with both determination and fear. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. But Bonner, standing in his command center, could feel the pulse of victory growing stronger with every passing second. He had never doubted humanity's potential, and now the universe would witness what humans were truly capable of. The battle raged on in space, but amidst the chaos, something darker was unfolding. Captain Malik, Bonner's close friend and one of humanity's bravest soldiers, led a daring mission to board a Kaltoran warship and plant explosives at its core. The mission was crucial: destroy the heart of the Kaltoran fleet, and the invaders would be crippled. But as Malik and his team stormed the Kaltoran ship, they faced an unexpected level of resistance. The Kaltorans were no longer underestimating humanity. They fought back with everything they had. Malik's team fought their way through the ship, guns blazing, their energy shields absorbing the blasts from Kaltoran weapons. But the Kaltorans had more than just soldiers. They had automated defense systems, robots designed to kill any intruder without hesitation. As Malik reached the core of the ship, ready to plant the explosives, the Kaltoran forces closed in on him. It was in this moment that tragedy struck. Malik was killed in a brutal close-quarters combat battle. His death was swift, but his sacrifice was immense. He had given everything for the cause, for humanity's survival. The loss hit Bonner hard. As Malik had been more than just a colleague, he had been his closest friend. But in the heat of battle, there was no time to mourn. Malik's death only steeled Bonner's resolve. He could feel his friend's spirit guiding him forward. The Kaltorans had taken one of their own, but they had awoken a force far more powerful than they could ever imagine: human will. Bonner's team rallied around him, the emotional weight of their loss fueling their drive to push the Kaltorans even further back. The orbital bombardment continued, each blast from the human ships raining down on the Kaltoran fleet, crippling their ability to fight back. The Kaltorans were now cornered, trapped in a deadly game they had not anticipated. They had thought of themselves as invincible, but the tables had turned. The humans were ready for every move they made. Zarek, still on the Kaltoran flagship, watched in disbelief as his fleet struggled to maintain any semblance of order. His forces were now fighting for their very survival. The humans had adapted faster than anyone could have expected. The once proud Kaltoran Empire was now in retreat, their superiority in question. Zarek knew it was only a matter of time before the humans dealt a decisive blow. "Full assault," Zarek shouted, his voice trembling with frustration. "We will show them who we are." But the humans were prepared. They knew the Kaltorans would strike back with everything they had. As the Kaltoran ships began their counterattack, humanity's forces responded with precise, calculated moves. Every Kaltoran maneuver was countered, every attack neutralized. The humans had anticipated their moves, and no matter how hard the Kaltorans fought, they couldn't regain the upper hand. In that moment, Zarek realized the truth. The Kaltorans were not the masters of the galaxy anymore. Humanity had changed the rules of the game. The Kaltorans, once confident in their technological superiority, now found themselves fighting against a species that had something far more dangerous: the power to adapt and fight with everything they had. And in that struggle, humanity had found their greatest weapon: the unbreakable will to survive. The battle was far from over, but the tide had shifted. Humanity had struck back with devastating force, proving that they were not just survivors, but warriors who would never bow to any invader, no matter how advanced. The Kaltorans had learned their lesson the hard way: never ever fight a human. The Kaltoran fleet was scattered across the stars, limping back toward their home system after a humiliating retreat from Earth. Commander Zarek, still reeling from the recent defeat, could not shake the feeling of dread creeping into his mind. Despite their technological superiority, humanity had proven to be a formidable enemy. The Kaltorans had always considered themselves the apex predators of the galaxy, but now, for the first time in history, they were the prey. As the fleet made its way back to Kaltora, Zarek ordered his forces to regroup and prepare for the next phase of the invasion. But something was gnawing at him, a nagging thought he couldn't shake. What if the humans were not just another primitive race to be conquered? What if, in their arrogance, the Kaltorans had missed something crucial? In an effort to understand the true nature of their enemy, Zarek sent out scouts to explore a long-forgotten planet in the Kaltoran home system. The planet was desolate, its surface scarred by ancient battles. It was a place that had been abandoned long ago, left to decay in the shadow of time. But there was something on this planet, something that could hold the key to understanding the true nature of humanity. The scouts scoured the ruins, uncovering hidden structures and long-buried secrets. It was in one of these forgotten ruins that they stumbled upon a set of ancient Kaltoran texts covered in dust and debris. These texts, written by the ancestors of the Kaltorans, told a chilling story, a story of a war that had taken place long before the Kaltorans had ever reached Earth. The texts revealed that in the distant past, the Kaltorans had once waged a brutal war against humanity. This was not the first time the Kaltorans had faced the humans' wrath. In fact, the texts told of a total annihilation of the Kaltoran forces at the hands of humans. It was a war that the Kaltorans had lost, and it was a defeat so devastating that they had written the warning, "Never ever fight a human," in their ancient texts as a reminder. The knowledge of this ancient war had been lost to time, buried beneath the weight of centuries of Kaltoran expansion and conquest. But now, as the Kaltoran scouts uncovered the truth, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The warning had always been there, waiting to be rediscovered. And now, the Kaltorans were about to face the same fate that had befallen their ancestors. Back on the Kaltoran flagship, Zarek sat in his command chair, reviewing the information brought back by his scouts. As the ancient texts were decrypted, he learned of the incredible tactics used by humanity during the ancient war. The Kaltorans had been caught off guard by humanity's cunning, tactics that no advanced race had ever encountered before. The humans had fought with a desperation and resourcefulness that had caught even the most seasoned Kaltoran commanders off guard. Zarek's supreme eye, An advanced artificial intelligence designed to oversee the fleet's operations suddenly activated. The AI, now fully awake and operational, began to scan the ancient texts and process the data. A series of holographic images flickered to life in front of Zarek, displaying footage of past human battles. The footage was unlike anything Zarek had ever seen. The images showed a fleet of ancient Earth ships, struggling to hold their ground against the might of the Kaltoran forces. But it was not the ships that caught Zarek's attention. It was the humans themselves. The way they fought was unlike anything the Kaltorans had encountered before. Humanity had used tactics that no advanced race had ever considered. The footage showed human ships engaging in suicide missions, charging directly into the heart of the Kaltoran fleet without hesitation. The humans employed last-minute maneuvers that left their enemies confused and disoriented. They had no regard for their own survival, only for the survival of their species. The footage revealed humans willing to sacrifice everything to win. Every ship, every life, thrown into the fray with a determination that struck fear into the hearts of their enemies. The Kaltorans watched in stunned silence as the footage played. The images of humanity's battle tactics sent a chill through their spines. They had never seen such raw courage, such unrelenting will to survive. It was a sight that was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The humans, it seemed, had a level of unpredictability that no one, not even the Kaltorans, could match. Zarek felt a cold sweat form on his brow as he realized the magnitude of what he was facing. The humans were not just a threat. They were a force of nature. The Kaltorans had underestimated them, and now they were paying the price. "Commander," the AI's voice crackled through the command room, its tone calm but tinged with alarm. "The humans' tactics are unlike anything we have encountered before. Their ability to adapt, to sacrifice everything for victory, is beyond our comprehension. We must reconsider our approach." Zarek's arrogance, once unwavering, began to crack. The Kaltorans had always prided themselves on their technological superiority, their advanced weaponry, and their dominance in the galaxy. But now, they were faced with an enemy who fought not just with weapons, but with something far more dangerous: the will to survive. The Kaltorans had always believed they were invincible, but the footage before them proved otherwise. As the realization set in, panic began to spread among the Kaltoran officers. If humanity had survived a war with their ancestors and now stood ready to fight again, what hope did the Kaltorans have? The past was repeating itself, but this time, the Kaltorans were not the victors. They were the ones facing extinction. Zarek's mind raced as he processed the information. This was no longer just a war for conquest. It was a war for survival. The Kaltorans had already lost once to humanity, and now they were in danger of losing again. The Kaltoran Empire, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, was teetering on the brink of annihilation. "Prepare for full-scale retreat," Zarek ordered, his voice now tinged with desperation. "We need to regroup. We cannot afford to make the same mistake again." But as the Kaltorans began their retreat, Zarek knew deep down that their chances of victory were slim. Humanity had proven that they were not just survivors, they were warriors. And if the Kaltorans had learned anything from the past, it was this: never ever fight a human. The atmosphere on Earth was tense, filled with anticipation. General Bonner stood before a holographic map, his hand hovering over the red marker indicating the Kaltoran mothership. The massive fortress-like structure, floating in the cold vacuum of space, was the last obstacle between humanity and victory. The war had raged for months, but this would be the final battle, a battle that would decide the fate of not only Earth but the entire galaxy. Bonner's face was grim as he surveyed the map. His thoughts drifted to Captain Malik, his closest friend and ally, who had died in the previous battle. The loss was still fresh, the pain of his death a constant reminder of what was at stake. Bonner knew that the Kaltorans, with their vast technological superiority, would not go down without a fight. The Kaltoran mothership was a symbol of their power, a fortress armed with devastating weapons and protected by an army of elite soldiers. But Bonner also knew that humanity's resolve could not be matched. It was this unbreakable spirit that would give them the edge in this final assault. He turned to his squad, each one of them steely-eyed and determined. They were all volunteers, soldiers who had lost family, friends, and comrades to the Kaltoran invasion. They had seen what the Kaltorans were capable of, and they had experienced firsthand the horrors of this war. But they were also survivors. They had adapted, they had learned, and now they were ready to fight back. Their goal was simple: to deliver the final blow to the Kaltoran mothership and end the war once and for all. As Bonner's squad readied themselves for the mission, the tension in the air was palpable. They knew the stakes. They knew that they were facing almost certain death. The Kaltorans were more powerful, their technology far more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen. But the humans had something that the Kaltorans could never replicate: the will to survive. This mission was not just about strategy and firepower. It was about vengeance, about ensuring that the sacrifices of their fallen comrades would not be in vain. The final assault began with a fleet of human warships launching into space. The massive armada of human ships, each one armed with powerful EMP weapons and cloaking devices, sped toward the Kaltoran mothership. The human forces had learned to fight smart, not just hard. Their warships had been specially designed to counter the Kaltoran fleet, and now they would put everything they had learned to the test. The Kaltorans, despite their vast technological superiority, were facing an enemy that had figured out their weaknesses. Humanity was no longer the underdog, it was the hunter. As the human fleet neared the mothership, the Kaltorans retaliated with all their might. Massive beams of energy shot from the mothership, cutting through the void of space. The human warships dodged and weaved, using their cloaking devices to stay hidden and launch surprise attacks. Explosions filled the air as human ships and Kaltoran vessels clashed in a brutal space battle. But Bonner and his squad had a different task. Their mission was not to fight in space. They had been given the most dangerous job of all: to infiltrate the Kaltoran mothership and plant explosives in its core. Bonner's heart raced as he and his team boarded one of the stealth ships that would take them directly to the mothership. As the small craft approached the massive alien fortress, Bonner couldn't help but feel the weight of what they were about to do. The mission was a suicide run. No one expected them to return. But there was no turning back now. The stealth ship landed on the mothership's hull, its advanced cloaking device rendering it nearly invisible to the Kaltorans. The squad quickly disembarked, moving swiftly across the surface of the massive vessel. Their task was clear: get inside, plant the explosives, and get out before the Kaltorans could stop them. But as they entered the mothership, they were immediately met with resistance. Kaltoran soldiers, armed with advanced energy weapons, came charging at them. The humans fought back with everything they had. The close-quarters combat was intense. Each member of Bonner's squad fought with the desperation of someone who had nothing to lose. They knew this was their only chance to end the war. Each step forward brought them closer to their objective, but the Kaltorans were relentless. The human soldiers fought with fury, but the Kaltoran soldiers were a well-trained, technologically superior force. The battle was brutal, and the cost was high. One by one, Bonner's team members fell. Despite their best efforts, the Kaltorans' superior strength and firepower were overwhelming. Bonner could feel the weight of each loss, but he kept moving forward. For every comrade lost, his resolve only grew stronger. This was for them. This was for Earth. This was for humanity. In the midst of the chaos, Bonner and the remaining members of his squad reached the central chamber of the mothership. The countdown had already begun. There was no time to waste. Bonner, despite his injuries, his arm bleeding from a wound, moved toward the core of the mothership. He had to plant the explosives that would destroy the Kaltoran ship once and for all. But as he approached the core, a Kaltoran officer appeared, blocking his path. It was Zarek, the leader of the Kaltoran fleet. The two men locked eyes, both of them battered, both of them on the brink of exhaustion. Zarek's face was twisted in anger, while Bonner's face was set in grim determination. This was it, the final confrontation between humanity and the Kaltorans. "You think you can defeat us?" Zarek sneered. "We are the Kaltorans. We are unstoppable." Bonner, his voice hoarse but resolute, replied, "You underestimate humanity, Zarek. You've made that mistake before." With that, Bonner lunged forward, tackling Zarek to the ground. The two fought viciously, exchanging blows as the timer on the explosives continued to tick down. Bonner's vision blurred as he landed a final punch, knocking Zarek unconscious. With no time to waste, Bonner planted the final explosive in the core. The explosion sent shockwaves through the mothership. The entire ship trembled as the countdown reached 0. Bonner and the remaining soldiers barely managed to escape the destruction, their bodies battered and broken. As they made their way back to their stealth ship, Bonner couldn't help but feel a mixture of relief and sorrow. The Kaltorans had been defeated, but the cost had been unimaginable. The human fleet watched in awe as the Kaltoran mothership erupted in flames, its massive structure disintegrating in a fiery explosion. Humanity had won, but at a great cost. Bonner's squad had given everything for this victory, and their sacrifices would never be forgotten. As the final echoes of the battle faded into the silence of space, Bonner stood at the helm of his ship, looking out at the wreckage of the Kaltoran fleet. Earth had been saved, but the war had changed him. He knew that humanity's resilience, its unyielding will to survive, had been the deciding factor in this victory. And no matter what the future held, humanity would never forget the lesson they had learned. Never, ever underestimate a human. The war was over. The Kaltoran fleet, once the symbol of an almost unbeatable power, lay in ruins, scattered across the vast emptiness of space. Humanity had fought with everything they had, and against all odds, they had emerged victorious. The Kaltorans had underestimated Earth. They had thought humanity weak, a species they could conquer without effort. But they had learned the hard way that humanity was not to be trifled with. General Bonner, his body battered and bruised from the countless battles, stood solemnly on the bridge of his flagship. The war was over, but the weight of the victory still pressed heavily on his shoulders. He had lost so much during this conflict. Friends, comrades, countless soldiers who had sacrificed their lives to protect Earth. The victory had come at a steep cost, but it was a cost that had been paid with the blood of humanity's bravest. The general's gaze fell on the vast emptiness outside the ship's windows. The stars twinkled in the distance, and beyond them, the remnants of the Kaltoran fleet could be seen floating in space, broken and defeated. Humanity had not just won. They had shown the galaxy that they were not a race to be underestimated. The Kaltorans, for all their technological superiority, had been humbled by the sheer will and tenacity of Earth's people. As Bonner watched the destruction of the Kaltoran fleet, a message began to broadcast across the galaxy. It was simple but powerful, a declaration of humanity's resilience. Never ever fight a human. The message echoed through the stars, reaching the ears of every alien race that had watched the war unfold. The galaxy, which had once looked at Earth with disdain, now paused in awe. The humans had proven that they were not weak, that they were not easy prey. They had fought and won, using not just advanced technology, but the raw determination and ingenuity that had always been their greatest strengths. Across the galaxy, the Kaltorans retreated to their homeworld. Humiliated and defeated, they began spreading the warning to their allies. Don't provoke Earth. The once mighty Kaltoran Empire, with all its advanced technology and pride, had been brought to its knees by a species they had once considered insignificant. The message was clear. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. General Bonner, though victorious, could not shake the weight of the loss. His injuries were severe, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the emotional toll of the war. He had watched countless soldiers fall, many of them his closest friends. Captain Malik's death still haunted him. The pain of losing his comrades was a wound that would never heal, no matter how many victories humanity achieved. But as he stood there, surrounded by his team, a sense of pride began to replace the grief. The battle had been brutal, but humanity had shown its strength. They had fought with everything they had, and they had won. The loss of so many would never be forgotten, but their sacrifices had not been in vain. Humanity had proven to the galaxy that they were survivors. They had endured, adapted, and come out stronger on the other side. They were not a species to be trifled with. They were fighters, and they would never back down. As Bonner walked through the ship, he passed by the memorials for the fallen soldiers. Each name etched into the walls was a reminder of the price they had paid for victory. The faces of his fallen comrades flashed through his mind, each one a hero who had given everything for their planet. He stopped for a moment in front of Malik's memorial, his heart heavy with loss. Malik had been more than just a friend. He had been a brother. The general placed a hand over his heart, offering a silent salute. They had fought together, and now, because of their sacrifices, Earth was safe. The war was over, but humanity's journey had only just begun. Earth's message to the galaxy had been sent, loud and clear. They had proven that no matter how outmatched they were, no matter how many enemies stood against them, humanity would never surrender. The Kaltorans had learned this lesson the hard way, and now the rest of the galaxy would know it too. As Bonner stood on the bridge, the camera zoomed out, showing the peaceful skyline of Earth. The planet, though scared by the war, stood strong. The bustling cities, the green fields, the mountains and oceans, all of it was a testament to humanity's resilience. Earth had been through so much, and yet it had endured. Humanity had endured. The camera continued to zoom out, revealing the vastness of space, a reminder of the unknowns that lay beyond. The galaxy was large, filled with countless alien civilizations, some peaceful, some hostile. But no matter what the future held, one thing was certain: humanity would always fight. They would always survive. In the darkness of space, the Kaltorans were not the only ones who had learned a lesson. The galaxy as a whole had witnessed humanity's strength. They had seen the unyielding spirit of Earth's people, and that message would resonate across the stars for generations to come. As the final shot of Earth lingered in the camera's frame, Bonner's voice echoed through the ship, low and filled with resolve. "We will never forget the price of this victory. We will never forget the ones we lost. But we will always fight. We are humans, and we will never surrender." The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. They had proven themselves in the most dire of circumstances. The Kaltorans had underestimated Earth, and now the galaxy knew better. The legacy of humanity would live on, and no matter what challenges lay ahead, humanity would always find a way to rise. With that, the camera slowly zoomed out, showing the vast expanse of space and the peaceful planet of Earth, a symbol of humanity's strength, resilience, and undying will to survive. In the wake of humanity's triumph over the Kaltorans, Earth began the slow but steady process of recovery. The war had left its scars, cities in ruins, families torn apart, and the emotional weight of countless losses. Yet, in the face of devastation, humanity had proven its strength, its resilience, and its ability to rebuild. The victory over the Kaltorans had changed the galaxy's perception of Earth, and as the dust settled, a new era began. Across the planet, the rebuilding process was in full swing. The cities that had been destroyed were now being reconstructed, stronger and more advanced than ever before. People, once consumed by fear and grief, began to look to the future with hope. The skies, which had once been darkened by the shadow of war, were now clear. Humanity had endured, and now they were rebuilding, not just their homes, but their sense of identity and purpose. The war had been brutal, but it had forged an unbreakable bond among humans. The shared suffering, the sacrifices, and the triumphs had united people from all corners of the Earth. It wasn't just the victory over the Kaltorans that had strengthened humanity. It was the realization that they had become something more. They had become a force to be reckoned with, a civilization that had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. With the Kaltoran threat neutralized, humanity's reputation as fierce warriors quickly spread throughout the galaxy. The Kaltorans, once the most advanced and feared empire in the galaxy, had been humiliated by a species they had underestimated. The message that Earth had sent across the stars was clear: do not mess with humanity. They might be small, they might be young, but they were capable of anything when pushed to the brink. Former enemies, who had once looked down on humanity, began to reconsider their stance. The galaxy, which had once been filled with skepticism about humanity's place in the universe, was now taking notice. Old threats that had once loomed over Earth now hesitated, thinking twice before considering any aggression toward the planet. Earth's newfound reputation as a fierce, resourceful, and relentless species had made other alien civilizations rethink their approach. Alliances began to form, even with those who had been enemies just a few short years ago. Diplomatic channels opened, and discussions began about forming new relationships, ones based on mutual respect and understanding. The war had ended, but the consequences of humanity's victory were far-reaching. Earth had not just defended itself, it had secured its place among the stars. No longer would humanity be seen as weak or insignificant. They had proven their worth, and now the galaxy was starting to take them seriously. As Earth's leaders gathered to discuss the future, a sense of cautious optimism filled the air. The recovery was still in its early stages, but there was no doubt that humanity was on the path to a brighter future. The scars of the war would remain, but they would serve as a reminder of what humanity had achieved. The human race had faced extinction and had overcome it. They had faced an enemy more advanced, more powerful, and more numerous than they could have imagined, and they had won. But as with any victory, peace was fleeting. Just as humanity began to find its footing, as the new alliances began to solidify and old enemies reconsidered their threats, a new challenge appeared on the horizon. A mysterious alien race, one that had never before been encountered by humanity, sent a message to Earth. The message was simple, yet intriguing. We have heard much about your strength. We are curious. Prepare yourselves. The message, broadcast across Earth's communication networks, sent a wave of shock and confusion through the planet. Who were these beings? What did they want? And why were they so intrigued by humanity's strength? No one knew, but one thing was certain. Earth's peace had been short-lived. The galaxy, it seemed, was far from done testing humanity. General Bonner, now a symbol of human resolve and leadership, stood before his command team, reviewing the message. His face was stoic, but the tension in the room was palpable. Humanity had just won the most significant battle of its existence, but now, as they looked to the future, they had no idea what this new alien race wanted. It could be a threat, or it could be an opportunity. Either way, humanity had to be ready. Bonner's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of his communications officer speaking up. General, the alien race that sent the message has now sent ships into our space. They are in the outskirts of our solar system. They are not hostile. For now. The words hung in the air. Humanity had survived the Kaltoran invasion. But now it was clear that the war was not truly over. There were other forces in the galaxy, and they were watching Earth closely. The idea that humanity's victory over the Kaltorans had made them a target rather than a hero sent a chill down Bonner's spine. But despite the uncertainty, he knew one thing for certain. Earth would not back down. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they were capable of. They had faced overwhelming odds and had come out on top. They had fought not just for survival, but for the future of their species. And now, facing this new challenge, humanity would face it with the same resolve. They had nothing to lose. The mysterious alien race remained a mystery, but humanity's response was clear. The message was not one of fear or hesitation. It was a message of strength. Humanity was ready to face whatever came next. The final scene of this chapter showed General Bonner standing alone on the observation deck of the Earth command ship, looking out at the stars. The vastness of space stretched out before him, an endless sea of unknowns. The galaxy had just witnessed humanity's resilience, and now it would witness their next step into the unknown. The camera slowly zoomed out, revealing the calm, peaceful Earth below. Despite the challenges ahead, despite the unknown threats that loomed on the horizon, Earth stood strong. Humanity had survived, and they would continue to fight for their place in the galaxy. The screen faded to black, leaving only the words, "The story is far from over." As the credits rolled, the mystery of the new alien race remained unsolved. But one thing was certain: humanity's story had only just begun. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and opportunities. But as long as humanity stood together, they would face whatever came next, with the same courage and strength that had carried them through the darkest days of the war. The saga of humanity, once just a fledgling species, had become a tale that would echo through the stars for generations to come. And the galaxy, whether they liked it or not, would never forget the lesson humanity had taught them. Never underestimate a human.